Hi there, I'm Vincent Bos and I provide dating and self-improvement advice. And in today's podcast, we're going to be discussing no contact rule milestones. I provide audio coaching for breakup recovery, trying to get an ex back, attracting someone new, and life coaching. Visit www.dateme.tips for more details. Please check your spam and junk folders if you are expecting an email from me. Check out my socials for extra content. The links are in the description. So now let's get back into today's podcast. And today we are discussing no contact rule milestones. So if you have been dumped and want to try to get your ex back, you will likely be trying to implement the no contact rule. But it's very, very difficult. In today's podcast, I'll be discussing 3 no contact rule milestones to try and achieve. So let's get straight into this, and point number 1 is 1 month. Now, if you've just been dumped, or even if you haven't just been dumped, if you've only just come to the realization that no contact is the best way forward, well, you're having to start at the beginning. So whether you were dumped yesterday or whether you were dumped 6 months ago, but it's only now that you've decided to implement my version of a no contact rule, well, you're at the beginning. And I'm not going to lie to you, it's very, very challenging. Now, the first milestone I'm saying in today's podcast is 1 month, but in all reality, I probably could have said 1 day, because when you're starting out, 1 day feels like eternity, even 1 hour, when ordinarily you would be with your ex, or maybe you would be texting your ex, even that first hour, but normally you would be together and now you're not, well, that can feel like it's forever. And this is very, very difficult. Now, you can get through it, you will get through it, and some of you further down the line will be thinking, yeah, I never thought I would be able to manage that first day, that first week, that first month. But here I am now, well beyond that. Now, it doesn't necessarily make you feel better listening and thinking there are people so far ahead of you, because that does suggest that you won't be hearing from your ex anytime soon. And this is something that is really, really important to try and alter your mindset so that you can see things more positively. Because it's true, the reality is you're probably not going to hear from your ex for a sustained period of time, but there is an opportunity you will reconnect in the future. And that is the mindset shift we need to have. You're probably not going to hear from your ex today, tomorrow, next week, or in the coming weeks, but there is a chance that 1 day in the future, you can reconnect. And this first milestone is about getting into that mindset, but your routine is changing. The things that you used to do, sadly, are no longer the case. You're no longer going to be waking up next to your ex, whereas perhaps you ordinarily did. Even if you weren't living together, you're not going to be sending that good morning message. You're also not going to be receiving it. These things take time to understand that they're not as scary as they first seem. It can feel terrifying. It can feel very lonely. But please, alter your mindset, keep it positive, recognize that not hearing from your ex today doesn't mean you can't get them back further down the line. Now, I'm not here to give you false hope. I'm not here to promise you that you will get your ex back, because there are no guarantees. There is no 100% guaranteed way to get your ex back. Nothing works 100% of the time, and nothing fails 100% of the time. But from my research, what I can say is that you're very unlikely to reconnect with your ex in the first few days, weeks, or even months post-breakup. And that's why that first month is a real milestone, but it's about shifting your mindset and understanding you are going to be okay. Even if you don't get your ex back further down the line, you'll be absolutely fine and you can find someone even better. But in those early days, weeks, or even months, you're not necessarily going to be thinking in a way other than, I want to get my ex back. And that is fine as long as you're able to live your life as positively as possible. So, okay, you might be holding on that thought, but I don't want anybody else, I just want my ex back. But you need to make sure that you can function, you can go to work, for instance, you still see your friends, you do have an active life. Those things are absolutely crucial. If you want to get your ex back, you absolutely need to maintain and grow from a person you are right now. You can't get worse in different aspects of your life. You can't collapse. You can't go downhill because you won't reattract your ex in that way. So whether or not you have it in your mindset that you can find someone better, or whether you just want your ex back, the reality is the same. And that is that you need to be proceeding in a positive way, and you can do it. And if and when you get to that first month, you will have a moment of realization that you've achieved something that you didn't think you even could. Now, I did just say if you get to that point, and that's because a few of you will get extra lucky and will hear from your ex much sooner than average. But let me tell you, that is very much in the minority. So try not to put yourself under pressure to try and get your ex back within a certain time frame, because the likelihood is, if you do reconnect, it will be much longer than perhaps you actually want. So now let's get into point number 2 and the second point of today's podcast. Please like this video if you're watching on YouTube, and if you have the new hype feature, please hype this video as well. If you like my content, subscribe to the channel to keep updated. And point number 2 is 6 months. So today we're speaking about no contact rule milestones. And point number 2 is a real significant one, the 6 month mark. And if you're in those very early days we've just been speaking about in point number 1, 6 months might sound like another world away. As I said, even 24 hours can feel like forever more. But you will get to that stage where you analyze how long it has been since you last spoke to your ex, and you think, oh my gosh, it's been half a year. Now that can sound really, really scary. But when you get to that point, if you need to get to that point, because some of you will have heard from your ex before that, and there will be more of you that do, the longer, of course, we go down the line. If and when you get to that 6 month mark, you will realize that you are more resilient than perhaps you believed you were, because here you are. You're achieving things, no doubt. And even if you feel that you've not really increased and improved and grown in a way that you would hope, the fact that you've been able to get through those first 6 months, and you can look back at no doubt some small wins in your life, that is achievement enough. And it's really important to celebrate small wins. A small win could be something which might seem very basic, but is really, really important. It could be the first time that you went out with your friends, and previously you've gone out and you were almost persuaded or forced to go out with them. You didn't really have a good time at all. And then you had a moment 4 or 5 months down the line where you actually had a great time. For a few hours at least, you lost yourself in the moment. You practiced mindfulness. You had a great time. You legitimately smiled and had a laugh. And that can be really, really important. But the main reason why the milestone of 6 months is so crucial, in my opinion, is because it is the beginning of a period of time where the average states, from my own research, that a dumper may reach out to a dumpee. Now, I am quite cautious in explaining it in this way because I don't want you to get to that 6 month mark and then start getting very anxious, thinking, okay, my ex should be texting me any day now. Because as I said earlier, sadly, there are no guarantees. I can't promise you that you'll get your ex back, and sadly, some of you won't achieve that goal. But a lot of you will hear from your ex again, and from 6 months onwards, 6 to 12 months, I would say, is the average amount of time that I see dumpers reaching out to dumpees. So whereas that first 6 months, if you were to hear from your ex, well, I would say you are in that lucky minority, especially within the first month. Now you've hit this milestone of 6 months of no contact. Now you're moving into a bracket of where there is a much stronger possibility. Now remember, we are talking about you implementing my version of a no contact rule. If you haven't been implementing no contact, if you haven't been implementing my version of a rule, I can't say with any guarantee that you will be in this best possible position. If you have implemented my suggestion, if you have followed the advice and strategies that I state across my podcast and via my audio coaching service, well, now you have a good opportunity of pulling your ex in through intrigue and hopefully through missing you. This is what we need. This is what we want. You may have actually even got to the stage of where you are able to date other people. Now, I'm not saying you are there. Sometimes people don't get to that stage for a year or more. But if you are at this point, then congratulations. You are no longer a stage 1 dumpee. You are now a stage 2 dumpee. This is where you're more comfortable dating new people, even though you're probably wanting to keep it casual, just in case your ex does text you, and therefore you can jump ship and instantly try and reconnect. So I'm not saying you're ready to be serious with anybody new, but you might be at the point, or you might be getting to the stage where you're thinking, I don't want to be alone, and yes, I want my ex back, but if they're not ready to reconnect with me right now, well, if somebody's showing me interest, I'm going to go on a date with them. If I'm going to be spending some time home alone, I may as well use the dating apps and maybe see if there's somebody who wants to speak and get to know me, and have a conversation and maybe meet up. If you get to that stage, then that is wonderful. It is a milestone. It is something to celebrate because you never saw it coming. A few days into the no contact rule, I could not have persuaded you to date somebody new, and here you are, maybe 6 months down the line or so, and you're more open to that possibility. Remember, the only goal is happiness. It's not about getting your ex back per se, it's about finding happiness from within. And if you can find a greater happiness with someone new, well, congratulations and goodbye to your ex. Because all that matters is that you feel happy and fulfilled. Now, if you would like advice and support about how to try and increase the chance of one day getting your ex back, then you may want to consider my audio coaching service, where me and you can speak one-on-one about your unique specific situation. Go to my website www.dateme.tips for more information about how I can become your coach and your teammate via my audio coaching service. Talking about your feelings can also improve your mental health. It helps prevent the buildup of negative emotions, which can lead to stress, anxiety, depression, and even physical health issues. Speak your heart to free your mind. So now let's get into point number 3 and the final point of today's podcast. If you feel that this podcast has helped you, then please consider buying me a coffee. The link to do so is in the description. And point number 3 is lost track. So this is the main milestone that you want to achieve when you are implementing my version of a no contact rule. And that is the milestone of where you have lost track exactly how long it has been since you've been using no contact. Of course, in those early days, weeks, maybe even months, you will know precisely how long you've been in no contact. You will know the day you started, and you will also know the running total of days, if not in some cases, maybe even hours. But there will come a stage where you hit the milestone or where you lose track of exactly how long it's been. You can't quite remember. It's lost in your mindset because you are no longer dedicating so much desire and thought to it. And that's not a bad thing, but it shows that you are living your life to the full. You're focusing on other things, you're focusing on other people. And actually, ironically, this is when there is even more opportunity of your ex-dumper one day coming back into your life. Whilst you are keeping a running total of things, you are much more likely to make mistakes, either because the pull on your ex in your mind is so strong that you break no contact and reach out and unfortunately make things worse, or alternatively, you hear from your ex, but the anxiety is so great because you're thinking of them 24/7 that you don't go through the best communication stage that you could. It's much better to lose yourself in the moment, to experience life, to live it to the full, to become a version 2.0 of yourself, and to lose track of time regarding the no contact rule. You don't want to know how long it's been. You don't want to remember how long it's been. You just want to be focusing on you rather than your ex. And if you're able to do this, not only will you increase the chance of one day getting your ex back, but you'll become much more attractive to everybody else in your life as well. And remember what I said earlier on when I was saying it's about happiness, it's about fulfillment. It doesn't matter if you don't get your ex back, as long as you do find someone even better. And if that person is around your next corner and you see them and you meet them and you fall in love together, does it really matter that this person is not your ex? If they are a better person, physically, mentally, spiritually, of course it doesn't matter. All that matters is happiness. All that matters is that you find a connection that works for you. Yes, you and your ex were probably in your mind perfect, but that was back then. And that will always be the case. It doesn't devalue it. It did happen. It was real. It was true. And there is always an opportunity that you will get your ex back. It's not about me saying that you can't, but what it is saying is if you lose track of time, if you focus on other people, if you get to know someone and you feel great about it, don't feel bad. Don't feel ashamed. Don't feel like you're cheating on your dumper, because I'm told that time and time again. A dumpee meets someone new, they start to fall in love, and they actually feel guilty, almost as if they're cheating on their dumper, which of course is ridiculous. But we can't convince our mindset that that is the case. So I will try and do it for you. Don't be ashamed if you meet someone new. If you get your ex back, great. But if you meet someone better, well, that's just as good as well.